everybody. Welcome to our Energy Explorer series. My name is Grace Germond. I am a 2011 graduate of the iPEC program, and I'm also an internal admissions coach. Joining me today is our special guest, Andrea Eisenson. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And Andrea actually is a 2020 graduate of the iPEC program. This is all about leadership and how to take coaching into that space. Andrea, why don't you spend a little bit of time introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your background and how you got here?
Sure. Like Grace said, my name is Andrea Eisenson, pronounced perfectly. Thank you, Grace.
Thank you.
I am a long-term management consultant. I was with, I guess I can shout out to Accenture for 28 years, focused on the change management domain. So going out to clients and helping them with their change, whatever they needed to do, a new system, a merger, a divestiture, a new process, new organizational model, I would come in and help the organization with that change and putting in the steps. So I did a lot of people coaching per se in my own definition of what coaching was. And I also had a lot of interaction with leadership because we needed leadership to walk the walk and talk the talk so that they would lead by example. Nice. So I had a lot of experience with that area. And as I was finishing up with Accenture, I was put into a new position to help coach rising leaders. And so I was able to join iPEC, and I had the best cohort ever, which I know everyone says, but mine was truly the best cohort ever. And I fell in love with coaching. I was able to start coaching at Accenture, and I knew that it was my calling immediately. I coached leaders. I coached women who were women leaders who were climbing the ladder. And it just changed my world. And I was so excited to finally feel like I was home and doing exactly what my calling was. And that's how I got here. I left Accenture in September and started my own business. And, wow. and absolutely thrilled.
That's so cool. So I love that you said that you were coaching in your role already, but then you had the ability to kind of go and get a little bit more formal training. So what's changed in that space around your coaching leaders?
Yeah. So when I was coaching leaders before, I always had the mindset of what's in it for them, like asking them questions about how they would feel if this was happening to them so they could put on a different hat. But I never knew that was actual coaching. So I was probably doing more mentoring, like what I've seen before from other clients or what I would have done in that area or what have you seen before? I still kind of was maybe a little rough around the edges from a coaching perspective, but still had those conversations because I wanted them to look outside of their C-suite into the organization to see how that would change and how they would show up. So maybe these same words I'm using now weren't the words I was using, but that was the intent. And now I use the words, and now I'm able to articulate it much better and have people think through how they're showing up, how they want to show up, how they want the organization to perceive them, and how they can test that and use accountability. So right now my style is a lot more honed because of all of the tools and activities and thought-provoking processes that I went through with iPEC.
Nice. Okay, so now that you've created your own business, it sounds like you're still working with those same types of clients. So tell people a little bit about how you left that corporate world to create this business and what that was like for you.
Yeah, so part of the whole iPEC journey really opened my eyes to serendipity. And anyone who I've talked to before will know that I'm amazed at how the universe works. And I remember sitting on the couch, working on one of the worksheets for iPEC, some of the homework. And the question was, how does serendipity show up in your life? And I had no clue. I had no idea. And I was thinking, hopefully it will someday, but it hasn't yet. And then just things started happening, and my eyes were open. I became more aware and saw what the universe was doing. So part of my cohort, I was paired with my peer client, and she and I clicked immediately. And she was working for, well, actually, she was not working at the time. And through some of our coaching, she found an opportunity, and we did the coaching thing together to help get her prepared, and she actually got the job. And as a I don't know if a favor or as a service or whatever, she picked several of us to say, would you like to practice coaching to get hours, like the pro bono hours that you need to get your CPC afterwards? And of course I was like, absolutely. So I was still coaching at Accenture, and I started coaching, real people, like not my Accenture
coworkers. Yeah.
Yes, right. And so it was a huge, amazing opportunity for me. And through that, by the end of the year, by the end of our fiscal year, September, she knew that I was leaving Accenture. And she said, what if, using coaching language, what if I could find some budget and you could continue coaching my team? And I was absolutely blown away. And she did. And I will be forever beholden and grateful to her. I signed on and coached 8 of her direct reports. Nice. And that started it going. And then Accenture came back and asked me to do some contracting. And so I've been using a coach approach with the work I'm doing there. And then since then, other opportunities have opened up, and it's back to the serendipity. And I think one of our foundational laws, energy attracts energy, like energy attracts like energy. So somehow my energy is getting out there, and the universe is playing
back.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm actually really, really busy right now and loving it. Absolutely loving it.
That's really cool. So I'd like to maybe kind of go back to the leaders that you were coaching, or the leaders that you currently are coaching. So in that space, how do they show up differently as leaders once they're coached by you?
Great question. And I don't want to put words in their mouth. I think one of the biggest things is some self-awareness. So by asking the right questions and having the dialogue, we talk about how turning the tables, instead of always looking at your team and your organization, looking at inward, like, how are you motivating? How are you inspiring? What are some of the responses you get from doing X, Y, and Z activities? And is that serving you? And if that's not serving you and you want a different result, then you have to have a different way of interacting. So we work on the self-awareness piece, on how they want to show up. We look at energy levels within iPEC. We do the energy assessment, which is fabulous insight. And I also use Gallup strengths. And so when I layer those on there, and then a couple of social styles, and when you layer all 3 of those things on there, it's easy to explain how and why some of the behaviors are happening within these leaders.
Okay.
And then we can develop action plans or triggers or reminders or accountability to change them so that they show up differently. Again, back to that walk the walk and talk the talk. I mean, leaders have so much influence over their people that, yes, grounds up and grassroots change is good, but really having the leader be influential and accountable and approachable and communicative and transparent, all those things that make a really good leader, those are the types of things that we can work on based on their particular energy levels and social styles and strengths. Nice. So that's where we go.
Well, so there are a couple of things that I heard there. So not only are you using your coach training, but you're using a lot of things that you've already done in the past, like the history of, life experience, work experience, any additional trainings that you've done. And it's something that you can combine together to really up your game. So I do have a follow-up question from those leaders. So in your opinion, if you were to choose one of the people that you coached, one of the toughest leaders, have you had the ability to see what their team looks like now since coaching them?
Yes. So we also are in the process of doing the ELI 360s, and I haven't seen all of the results yet because I'm working with my other colleague. We're going to look at 2 things. One is, did their ELI ARL, their average resonating energy level increase. And then 2, we're looking at the perception from their people. I know that I asked a little SurveyMonkey survey, and from the anonymous results, most of them said that their teams have seen a difference and are working in a better way together. I mean, it's been really tough. I've been coaching sales executives.
Okay.
And so during the pandemic with sales, it's been very difficult to pound the pavement because you're pounding your keyboard instead and you can't go.
Right.
So it's been an interesting way to motivate and inspire teams when they couldn't get out there. And I think that what I heard in based on their survey results was that their teams did see a difference and were working better and with less friction and less doomsday kind of attitude. So I'm going to take it as a yes. No one has said otherwise.
But that's really good, because what's that saying is, like, when you work with those leaders, how much more productivity and how much more cohesion that can come from the teams that work with them. Okay?
Yes.
I know we've been talking a lot, and I let Andrea have the floor, but does anybody have any questions that they want to ask her right now? I haven't seen anything yet come up in the Q&A, or if there's anything on Facebook Live, Zach, if you just want to let us know, that would be great too. Otherwise, I can just have Andrea talk a little bit more about her experience. So don't forget, if you want to ask us any questions, to type them into those 2 sections, and we'll be sure to get to them as soon as we can. Okay. So Andrea, let's kind of talk about the next thing. You know, what are some of your goals as an executive leadership coach that you want to be able to maybe bring differently, that you might not be doing now, that you can see yourself doing in the future?
Yeah. I definitely will continue to use the layering process of tools. I find that very rewarding and eye-opening, both for me and for my client leaders. There's a couple other things out there that I'm interested in. I've been taking I'm getting a certificate in applied positive psychology.
Oh, nice.
And it is an incredibly complementary set of data and content with being a coach, because it's all about, again, self-awareness and taking a growth mindset, all of those things. So I've been able to really incorporate those tenets as well into my coaching. So part of that, I was exposed to the value strengths, the VIA strengths, and it's a free assessment. And it really is another way of how people show up in the moment. It's not like the strengths is a little bit more DNA based. But using my energy levels, as well as some of those other strengths that define who people are, to really move them into another area, I'm going to continue to hone that. And the other thing is, I think that helping after my leaders are at the place where they want to be and are at maintaining and a continuing learning area, making sure that they are also comfortable and satisfied with their life outside of work, and helping them maximize what they want to do in their time when they're not at work, so that they have that peace and that joy and the energy all the time, and not just one or the other. So yeah. I struggled with that while I was working in my crazy career, and I would like to help others figure out a way to be better balanced. And it's not balanced, but it's energized.
Yeah. And I think that's perfect, because I know a lot of times when people look at the different disciplines that we have, there's like 10 that you can choose from. And there's a lot of the ones that are more on that business side. But I think when people think about that, it's just going to be about business coaching. But really, it's not. It's the whole person, because you have to be able to have that conversation about whatever might be coming up for them, and give them that opportunity to have, whether it's that balance or being able to have that equal energy, both in their professional and their personal lives, is something that's really key to being a great coach. And having the ability to do both is just, top notch. I do think we have a question, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to read it. Okay. Can you talk a little bit about your career history that brought you to the point where you were naturally coaching before starting with iPEC and really honing those existing skills? Thanks, Laura. That's a great question. And Andrea, I'm going to give that over to you.
Great. Yes. So while I was in my prior career, I was focused on change management. So I was very people focused, and I had a natural propensity for just understanding what made people tick. And so having that natural curiosity, I always asked people, what they were doing, how they chose what they're doing, even if it was a career or what they were doing that day. Like if we were working on a team, how did you come to that decision? What made you think that you wanted to do it that way? Understanding where people came from and their backgrounds. And I just had a natural curiosity for people. And I think that curiosity for people combined with my intense work in change management, and if you're not familiar with change management, it's not people's favorite because it's change and change at work. I mean, if you've read that Who Moved My Cheese, it's a lot of cheese. It's a very stressful area. So bringing humor to work and bringing celebration to work and bringing ways to alleviate stress to work in a very stressful way, in a stressful environment, and a natural curiosity really prepared me for coaching, because I was always naturally inquisitive. And coaching, it gave me a much safer plane. I mean, it was much more difficult to go into an executive leader's office or a C-suite officer and just start talking to them and trying to help influence them. On the coaching platform, they're there for a reason. They've chosen you to coach them. So you have a little bit more free reign to ask the certain questions. So I think that having a lot of obstacles and challenges and barriers and tough leaders and tough jobs and roles growing up in my career really prepared me well to be a coach. And then having the iPEC training gave me that strong foundation to be able to articulate how to coach in a better way. I hope I answered that question.
That was really good. And I also think too, what you kind of shared there, a lot of people that look into coaching, it's something that it's already naturally a part of them, but they don't really realize that, they might be that person for other people, or people always come to them for advice, or they're just an ear to lend to somebody that has an issue. So in my day-to-day, these are the conversations that I have all the time. People are saying, oh my gosh, my friends always come to me. They tell me I'd make a great coach. And that's the thing. There's already a foundation for a lot of people that come into this, particular space. And the training is just about bumping that ability to the next level, and then certifying people to boot, and then giving foundation, giving structure. That's the whole idea. So you decided to make that decision so you could do that yourself and be better in that space that you were already performing in. It's like a basketball player, if they have a terrible free throw, the coach is going to make them stand at the line and practice until they get better. With coach training, it's the same thing. You're going to practice your coaching until you become that masterful coach and got to that point of like where Andrea is today. Great question.
And I'm still at the free throw line. I'm still there. Yeah. I'm still at the free throw line, right? I mean, that never changes, because you want to get better and better.
We always want to grow. We always want to adjust. But I mean, now as certified coaches, we're at a level, and it's all about going on to the next one. So any other questions? That was a really good one, Laura. Thank you for asking. I think we might be done with that one. So let's kind of talk about something else. What else is coming up for you in the leadership space? Let me reframe that. What challenges have you had to overcome in that space?
Yeah, challenges. So, I mean, with coaching them, or them dealing with specific challenges?
With coaching them, because you had sort of touched upon it before of how difficult it was to go into like a manager's office or an executive office or a C-suite leader. A little bit about that. So what's different?
Yeah, so I think sometimes it's challenging, and that when we have sessions and they're not exactly ready or have something top of mind to coach on. And so then I start start with, what's going on, or what's good, or what have you struggled with, or tell me something that happened in the last couple weeks or what week it's been wonderful, or something. And we kind of go down that path until something pops up. Sometimes, I mean, and I wouldn't say that's challenging. It's more not as focused. And sometimes those are very good because that helps just get some of the other mind chatter out of their heads. And sometimes there's, and part of the coaching training is there's sometimes where mentors, being more of a mentor is more appropriate. If there's some issue that they don't want coaching around. And with my leaders who I coach, I've always said, if you want me to give you my opinion, you have to tell me. So I take my coach hat off and I'll put my other hat on, right? My experienced whatever hat. And so there's times where that comes up too. And I wouldn't say that's challenging either. It's just a matter of fact that, just time out. I don't want to peel the onion right now. I want your opinion. And so then we go down that path. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, nothing is coming up, which I know is strange.
But you know what? With nothing coming up, it's also good. So that means you've been able to sort of handle everything that's been presented to you so far. But one of the things that I also, when you had said, sometimes they're not in that coaching space. I think sometimes when people, like in the place of corporations, if they're going to hire a coach and they're going to have somebody work with their coaching team, I think one of the biggest challenges that could come up, and I'm not an executive coach, but just kind of thinking about the process, is that if somebody is told they have to be sitting in front of you, that might not be a good experience for them because it's something that they have to do rather than something that they want to do. So have you run into anybody in that space where you've had to kind of work around that and peel back those onion layers?
Yeah, it hasn't been that they didn't want to be there, but sometimes I think there's some people who are less inclined to have every other week, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So for a few, more or less, we've said, okay, let's do once a month, and you tell me, if it's going to work, right? And come ready and prepared so that they don't waste my time and I don't waste their time. Nice. So I'm very flexible on that. In my contract, it's written in, if they miss it, I will be happy to reschedule, but I'm not going to do it more than once. And right. If they want to send somebody else in their place, I'm happy to coach somebody else, right? If they would rather put someone else in that slot so doesn't go to waste, that's also good. Yeah, I think it's an interesting balance. Like I said, I haven't really dealt with that, but I've dealt with a few that are just so swamped that it's more stressful. Even though the coaching sessions are helpful, right. It's more stressful to sit down and do it. Yeah. And so with them, I'm a little bit more flexible and I just, do what I can.
Mm-hmm. We just had a really great question that's going to tie into that from Arlene. How do you handle their egos?
Yes, Arlene, that is a huge one. So, yeah, it's funny. And I one of the women who I've been coaching, and she's wonderful. I absolutely adore her. And she's had breakthroughs that have helped me like open my eyes to, oh my gosh, that worked really well. And it's been really fun. And, but the first time we met, she had massive ego on and she was like, we were going through the coaching agreement, like, what does coaching mean? What does it not mean? And how are we going to do this? And what day do you want to go? And how is our sessions going to be? What do I expect from you? What do you expect from me? And she was just hammering me with questions. And I can't remember. We're probably on Zoom, and to me, it would have been like someone with their arms crossed and their scowl on. And she was like, well, when do we meet? And what if I don't do my homework? And all these things. And she's like, and how old are you? And I was like, woo. And so I just, had my very calm demeanor. And I was like, well, and I said, if it doesn't work with us, we don't have to do it. It's very simple. This is something that it's offering. If you take part of it, great. If you find it's helpful, great. If it's not helpful for you, we do not have to do that. And so of course, we developed a huge bond, and she's been wonderful. And we, you know, we text, and all of the people I'm coaching, I've created bonds with, and I'm not sure the rule around that for coaches, but I really adore them. But I have coach mindset on, but I also consider them friends because of just what we've opened up and what we've gone through. So I think I would say, from an ego perspective, peel the onion, ask them what they want out of it. Make sure that they know this is for their benefit. If they don't want to do this, they don't have to do this. You know, maybe give it a chance, 2 or 3 sessions. If it's helpful, continue. If it's not helpful, go to the next coach. And if you feel uncomfortable, you have that same prerogative. You don't have to coach someone if they're in there, you know, trying to test you or push all of your buttons. So it's a mutual relationship. And you know, I had an epiphany before Mod 2, I think, during my program, that this is improv. Coaching is improv. Mm-hmm. And you work off of what they give you, and you try to mirror energy. You mirror you mirror each other, and that's part of it. There's a positive psychology element too, that you mirror others so that can build rapport and build a relationship. And it really is that. And if there's someone who you're not working with, and there's no dance, then they feel it too. And it's not worth it to keep going. There's a lot of other coaches out there, and it's their loss, right? If they're not willing to give you a chance, then it's their loss. So that's how I would do that. Really shift the onus to them, ask them what they want out of it, ask them where they see themselves, you know, why are they there? If they're being forced, that's a whole different story, right? They have to be open.
I love it. And I know we've got a couple minutes before the end of the broadcast, and we just got a little tweet from Jennifer. She said she loves that coaching is improv. And I think that you put that perfectly. So now that we are approaching the bottom of the half hour, I do want to let everybody know that we do have another Energy Explorer series that is going to be coming up. I believe it's August 5th. Don't quote me on that. But it'll be on our iPEC website if anybody wants to join in. I believe we do these once or twice a month, and there's different topics at every single one. Now, our nice tech guy, Zach, who is behind the scenes, he's going to be putting up some links on the page for you to be able to connect with Andrea if you have any questions about what she does. And I also believe he's going to put some information up there about the iPEC training program. So if anybody is interested in looking into coaching, do not hesitate to reach out to us. We've got a lot of great admissions coaches and admissions assistants that are willing to help you to get started on your coaching journey. So thank you so much again for taking the time with us. Andrea, it was a pleasure to see you again. Hopefully we'll see each other again soon, somewhere along the line. So. But that's the other great part of this. Once you become a member of the iPEC family, this is something that you're a part of for the rest of your life. So feel free to reach out and have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks, Grace. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.